All right, panelists, please turn on your audio and your video. So hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel on creating mission-aligned supplier diversity partnerships. My name's Caroline, and I'm the Small Business Director here at Supplier Kitchen. So big thank you to our panelists, Carol Lewis, Kaaryn Simmons, Ismail and Susie Jones for joining me. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists to introduce yourself, talk about the organization that you're with, and a little bit about your role there. So Carol, can I kick it off to you first?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Good evening, good day. I'm Carol Lewis, and I'm the Global Director.
Carol Lewis y soy la directora ejecutiva.
Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Compass Group.
Great, thank you so much. Susie.
Hey there, I'm Susie Jones. I'm a senior project manager in MIT's Office of Sustainability, and I work on food projects ranging from procurement to waste to thinking about well-being, in addition to projects around transportation and engagement.
Thank you. Ismail, over to you. I think you're on mute. We may have lost your audio there, so I'm going to head to Kaaryn. Could you jump in?
Sure. My name is Kaaryn Naylor Simmons. I'm the director of the Columbia-Harlem Small Business Development Center, one of the research centers of Columbia Business School. We run a program in partnership with Supplier Kitchen called the Harlem Local Vendor Program, which is an incubator for small makers of artisanal goods, including food as well as other goods. Our role as part of that incubator program is business education as well as connections to procurement, specifically Columbia University procurement and MWBE certification.
Thank you. And Ismail, we can try you. If not, I can do a quick intro for you.
All right, is that working now? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
All right, cool. Sorry. Ismail, Commonwealth Kitchen. I am here, let's see. I am a director of culinary business operations. And so what I do primarily is really work with our member companies to try and figure out ways to scale up into institutional markets and make access to scalable solutions.
Great, thank you. So actually, before we get started, I wanted to turn to our audience members. One thing we're talking about here today is what it means to be a mission-aligned partner. So I wanted to ask all of our audience members here, what core values would you look for when you want to work with a partner? So whether you approach this from the viewpoint of a grocery buyer or a small business owner or even a customer, what core values and practices do you look for when you partner with someone? So throughout this panel, just keep this question in mind. And we'd like you to drop your answers into a website where we're going to aggregate everyone's thoughts. And then I'm going to run you through this tool quickly. So as you can see, I'm sharing the screen right now. What you'll need to do is go to a mobile device or maybe open up another web browser. Go to the website menti.com, MENTI.com. And then I'll ask you to put in a code. So you'll put in the code 3164989. After you put in the code, you'll see the question, what values do you look for in a buyer? And then you'll see 3 lines where you can enter your thoughts. So everyone have a look if you get a chance. These 3 lines are spaces for you to enter in your thoughts and ideas. So over the next hour, feel free to drop in your answers at any point. And at the end of the panel, we will share with everyone what you all have been inputting. And I think now you can kind of see a cool demo of that happening live time. Okay, so turning back to our panelists, I wanted to start with you, Carol. Compass's reach is huge. It's national. You encompass an entire family of companies. You range from corporate dining, concessions at stadiums, to dining halls at universities. Can you tell us a little bit about how your organization had previously prioritized supplier diversity, and how has the strategy changed over the past 8 months in the midst of COVID-19 and the ongoing Black Lives Matter movement?
Sure. So our strategy has been, our organization has prioritized our supplier diversity strategy for a number of years. It's been very important for us to leverage diverse suppliers in all of our sectors. And the ability to help communities grow through leveraging our suppliers. So the onset of COVID did not change our strategy. What it did was amplify the need to grow our reach and reaffirmed our purpose in doing supplier diversity. So it has only more solidified our approach as opposed to done anything else.
Awesome, thank you. And Kaaryn, I wanted to turn it over to you. Columbia University is one of New York's largest employers, and also the university has been a partner the Harvard Kitchen has had the pleasure with working with over the years. Can you tell us if your strategy has changed over the past couple of years and what your plans are for going forward?
I would say that the strategy over the past few years did not really change. Columbia was always very deeply committed to bringing on local and minority and women-owned businesses as vendors to the university. We started the Harlem Local Vendor Program about 5 or 6 years ago. And prior to that, we had made a commitment to try to connect our students to local restaurants in order to do catering. And we found that things were very, very challenging, both for the restaurants as well as the events coordinators on campus, which is one reason why we did decide to switch to packaged foods. And it also came at an amazing time because we were working with Hot Bread Kitchen, but also Whole Foods Market made a commitment to our community to bringing in local makers. And so we were able to really develop this pipeline that helped quite a few businesses get incubated both at Whole Foods Market Harlem as well as Columbia University, and then grow from there. So we're very happy about that. Within the university, they have been just incredibly receptive. Like, people love the fact that there are local businesses making the foods that they eat. And we've been able to place products at, I believe it's 5 cafes on 2 campuses, as well as products in the cafeteria. And we do an annual a procurement fair in one of our largest dining halls, where we bring on not only procurement buyers that you bring in, but also events planners from throughout the university. The school has been very, very committed to this program. They love it. The students love the food, the faculty, the staff, everyone really, really loves the program. And as we are opening another campus, I've already had quite a few meetings with the vice president of dining about which products will go into which buildings and which cafes there as well. So it's been, Columbia's made a pretty big commitment to this. And I would say at this point, it's very much institutionalized within the university's DNA.
Great, thank you. And something I do want to ask all of our panelists, because obviously COVID-19 has impacted every single corner of our lives, but it's very specifically corporate dining and institutional dining too. So really quickly, Kaaryn, as Columbia is not operating at full capacity, obviously neither is MIT nor many of the institutions, how has that impacted small businesses?
There's been a pretty big impact on our local restaurants. If you just turn on the news, you can see what's going on with the food businesses. We had already worked with Hot Bread Kitchen to really encourage quite a few businesses to start working with co-packers. And of course, we still were able to maintain the relationship with Whole Foods Market and other buyers. And as grocery has increased, then our businesses have been able to, they've been sustained. What we are finding is, of course, our dining halls are closed. We have very, very few students on campus. but we do have other people that work on our campus. As I mentioned, we're in the midst of building a new campus. And so we've got many construction teams working on that. And we've actually asked some of our businesses to go down to the construction area and sell box lunches and bring food carts down there in order to sell, because we still maintain that commitment to our community.
Great, and that's definitely something I want to circle back to, everyone's respective university and their commitment to the communities that you are in. So this is actually a great segue to talking to Susie from MIT. I know that your role at MIT has traditionally been a little bit more focused on sustainability, but can you tell us a little bit more about how maybe MIT has been thinking about supplier diversity and how this is coupled or how this is married with the university's concern with sustainability?
Sure. And I'll speak pretty broadly, I think, around sort of all of our suppliers, but I think even speaking broadly, it certainly applies to the folks that sort of make up our food suppliers as well. And I would say at MIT, and I'm just already just so grateful for the connections I'm making just on this very panel and looking to Kaaryn and the work at Columbia and looking for some models from sort of peer institutions. I'm excited to dig in on that. I would say that MIT's commitment, MIT is a very special place, and I think it puts a large emphasis on sort of innovation and entrepreneurship. And I think as a result of that, we take a very decentralized approach to things and allow departments to basically have this kind of culture of choice where everyone kind of gets to make up their own sort of program. So I would say, in all likelihood, there's probably a lot of good work going on in supplier diversity. I think for some departments, that might just be a compliance issue with federal grants. And for others, it might just be deeply embedded into the ethos of their department purchasing. I think what there's sort of been, I think, a nice convergence in the last year, both getting to work with Ismail at Commonwealth as a result of sort of winning a grant from the Kendall Foundation and just starting to work on thinking through supplier diversity in the food system, and then sort of hiring a small and diverse business coordinator to look broadly at MIT. And then I think the amplification of the Black Lives Matter movement and a statement from the president of MIT over the summer really committing to increasing purchasing specifically with Black-owned businesses in the area. And so I think hopefully in the future, we're going to see purchasing be more, have a more mission-driven, centralized focus. And I think there is a direct result of the sort of pressure and amplification from the movements over the summer.
Great, thank you. And I think so much of what you said about, the issues have been about decentralization for these very large institutions. And then how do you marry this commitment to supplier diversity with an actual operational plan? And I really would love to dig into a little bit more. But I know that you've been working with Ismail over at Commonwealth Kitchen, and I'm very excited to have Ismail here. So Commonwealth Kitchen, it's another incubator organization. It's one of our partner kitchens here at the forum today. They've been doing a tremendous amount of work supporting underrepresented entrepreneurs in the food space. So Ismail, I wanted to turn it to you. Can you give us an overview of the work that Commonwealth Kitchen has been doing as a nonprofit incubator to really drive home the importance of working with BIPOC-owned businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. Is my voice working now? Let's see if it's good.
I might need you to speak up a little bit.
All right, but you can hear me fine though, right?
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
All right, so cool. Sorry. So yeah, so I think as Susie said, I mean, I think it's for us, it is about getting those relationships nice and tight before we can actually move in the direction that we want to go. And so what we've got a lot of different we're at different stages with different partners, and so we have an understanding that it's not a one size fits all solution. And so we've got some people who are some organizations that are self-operating, some have are managed by a food service company, and even within those we also have like contracts that are already in place with commitments and promises, and with very little accountability measures in those contracts. So really trying to, like, there's promises, but not necessarily anything that's holding the institutions like accountable to some of the promises. So really trying to figure out how do we navigate the complications within all of the moving parts. And so some of the work what we're doing, Susie pointed out, we've got some support from philanthropy to try and really tap into the collective efforts of a regional approach of trying to really have this very transparent system in New England to show where the food is being produced, where it's grown, and where the purchasing power is. And so looking at an MIT to really have some forward commitments to actually stabilizing some of this, some of our strategies. And so that's one example. The other we've got, and that's a food service model and a more self-operating model, which is one of our another one of our partners. We're able to tap into the influence of some of the agreements that are already in place. Like we work with Harvard University as well to say, hey, you know what, if if Harvard has a commitment with the distributor to purchase all of their dairy, and Harvard is in deep relationship with us, can we get the necessary conversation with us, the distributor, and Harvard to actually force the distributor to carry some of our member products to say, hey, look, let's work in this together so we can actually move collectively towards the same goal. So those are just a few. There's two of our kind of strategies that we're working with, and within all of that, we're managing like each administration reacts differently to certain pressures and influence and nudging and like, so, and then others is like, all right, some respond well to like, hey, look, Susie, let me get you on this panel. Let's figure out how we can continue to develop this relationship so we can really identify what models work, what doesn't, what can we do differently, how. So it's just really trying to deploy as many strategies as possible for our members who are looking for solutions to scale their businesses. And so we look, that's kind of how we're looking at it.
That's really helpful. And I think I wanted to hone on something that you're saying about the identifying the right partner and identifying the right model. So we've chatted a little bit about this before, but it really comes down to this idea of what makes a mission-aligned partnership. And I want to give credit where credit's due. This is a term that, you and your team have been like talking about and really driving home. So let's talk about mission-aligned partners. What do you at Commonwealth Kitchen use as your criteria for mission aligned partner? And again, this is a reminder for everyone today on our panel and everyone who's listening in. Please drop in your thoughts into menti.com, and we also have a comment section too. But sorry, back to you, Ismail. Mission aligned partners.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. So we don't even know. I mean, we're still trying to figure it out, right? So right now we're asking that question every single day. We're being okay with asking that question to all of our partners. And so we're asking that very question too, to say, hey, look, you tell me what it means to be. So we're being very open with the conversation to say we don't have the answers. We are beginning to ask this question about ourselves, because we need to know how are we mission aligned partners with our companies that we are expecting revenue from, and all of these other kind of questions that are within our organization. So we need to, like, again, check ourselves first to say, all right, are we living the expectation that we're having for others? And then it's going out to say, these are the things that we're learning as an organization, and how can we continue to grow and amplify this work of trying to really dive into what it means to be a mission-aligned partner. And I think what comes from that is the quietness on a call, right? The uncomfortableness of like, man, we're doing this all wrong. Or actually, we're doing it all right because we are thinking, we're spending time to actually figure this out. And it's okay. It's like 3,000, wrong answers, and I don't know isn't one of them, right? So it's like, so that's kind of where we're at. So trying to really identify who's there. And then the one key piece that we do want to try and like drill down on and say, let's not celebrate until we get something that's tangible, right? We don't need to have, a post about something that was beautiful when it really didn't really amount to anything other than like somebody to click over it and it was performative. And so really telling our partners to say, hey, look, this is great, but let's not do this, coming from I'm from the sustainability world. Listen, it's not a greenwash, it's like a BIPOC wash, right? So we want a BIPOC wash your freaking like progress. So we gotta like really, and then the other thing, one more thing is having our partners acknowledge like what role they played in the problems in the first place. So saying, hey, look, oh yeah, we want to change. Well, okay, well, what were some of the barriers that you were putting in place? So we can actually identify them very specifically. So if they can identify those, and we can actually have some self-identification to be able to drill down. And it's not us saying, you did this, you did this. They're coming to the table to say, oh, I know what my role is in this. So it's kind of.
Go ahead.
Ismail, quick question. When you're looking at the partners that you're working with and wanting them to be aligned, mission critical alignment, are you also asking that they have diversity as a key driver, and that their suppliers to them are also embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion? Is that part of your alignment or not?
That's a good question. We don't specifically ask that, but I mean, it actually tips the hat to the direction that we say, okay, well, you've got proof, right? It's already in action. It's kind of like, as you were talking, if it's already in the DNA. Actually, when both of the New York, I can't see the world, but Kaaryn, when you guys were talking, like, it was like, it's already in the DNA, so it's like easier to get there. So it's like that would be great to have, because then we don't have to really start to like, go further down that rabbit hole. And then the other thing is, we don't have to, some of our entrepreneurs, it's like, can you just judge my stuff off of quality? Like, do I gotta be Black to be bought? Like, is it tasty? Like, is it like, does it fit within what you're trying to purchase? Right. And so there's that other piece too. Like, at the end of the day, like, if there's a commitment to purchase products that are quality, and our job as the incubator is to focus on racial and economic justice, then we already have done that vetting. So we are the holder of, as an organization, of the quality products. And so we're delivering on that mission by us being the holder of that.
Thank you. I without putting anyone on the spot, turning to the two universities who are here on the panel, both of you have mentioned the importance of, say, either the president's office being very involved in this or in an initiative. And Kaaryn, you and I have talked multiple times about how you're really proud that your university stands behind the work that you do. Could you speak a little bit about, if it took a while to get there, or is it baked into the DNA? And what can other institutions do to start understanding that we've got to figure out how to bake it into everyone's DNA?
So something that I thought was really interesting about what Ismail and Carol said is the idea of this being in every element of the supply chain. And that's what we're actually really trying to get to as we, when we finally get back into the office or on campus, we will be changing our curriculum, and we've got to start really looking at not only diversity, but also sustainability in every element of the supply chain as we're teaching. And I say sustainability because I got a call from our VP of dining, I guess it was maybe a year and a half ago, and she teaches in the program that you and I co-sponsor. And she said, Kaaryn, just letting you know that the university is saying no more plastic as of, whatever day. And so she had to run around finding paper straws. And this was a big New York thing about a year and a half ago. And so we started actually saying, okay, now we've got to start looking for suppliers for not only our large companies. So Pepsi said that they were 18 months away from meeting the standard. But also, as we're teaching our smaller businesses, we have to really look at that. So every single element of it is there. I mentioned in the chat, before I even started, and I started in 2012, I knew that Columbia had made some commitments around MWBE for construction. We were really pushed by the community to do so. But I didn't realize that some of our contracts with preferred vendors, with our largest vendors, with like a Staples, or another very large company that that we contract with, also include similar provisions. So they are required within their contract, or they were required within their contract with Columbia, to actually purchase some of their supplies, a certain number of their supplies. Or if they did not hit those targets, they had to donate money to a fund, to another organization. So that's what I mean by it's in every element of the school at this point. Part of it for us, of course, as a research institution, is that we do have research grants, and some of them are federal, some of them are state. And those research grants actually, there are certain spends. And New York spend right now, New York State spend is 30%. Our governor said 30% MWBE spending for every agency, in every government agency in New York. That trickles down to us because we do get grant funding. But even beyond that, we also have the commitment to our community. We have the commitment to our students, to our faculty, who are all from this community, who live here and want to make sure that the businesses within the neighborhoods where they live and work are sustained.
So can I ask a quick question here, Kaaryn? For the companies that, if their suppliers, if they do not have MWBE suppliers, they donate. Is there a push that over time that they then gain them so that they don't? Or is it okay that I always make a donation because I am not going to do that? Are there any parameters around that?
I think that's been the challenge. And when we talk about what is changing between, post 2020 and pre 2020, I think that's where we're going to see that change, because for them to just write a check and be able to answer that, with a check is unlikely to fly. Not only with our purchasing department, but with our students. Our students are looking at everything that we do, and they are the customer. So they're going to be asking. I just read that I think Starbucks is now linking their diversity goals to bonuses for their executives. That's just the beginning. This is going to start trickling down.
Great, thank you. And Susie, I wanted to turn it back to you because it sounded like you were at a really interesting juncture in where you were working project-wise. Did you want to add anything? I want to give you a little bit of time to talk about any thoughts you might have as you plan ahead for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I'm just taking so many notes listening to everyone on this panel. Again, I'm just so excited to continue this conversation far past this, but just picking up a couple of those threads. I think Ismail said something around sort of the institutions acknowledging that they were sort of part of the barriers, the systemic barriers that have been built up in communities that have disenfranchised or marginalized certain businesses from participating in the institutional, buying supplier game in some respects. And I think I'm hoping that this moment is just, and I would love to talk to Kaaryn, in the future, just about sort of how institutions have sort of made commitments to sort of acknowledging the impact they're having on the communities in which they are growing. And so certainly in Cambridge, Mass, and Boston, where incredible wealth disparity exists and where Kendall Square is booming and real estate is, continues to skyrocket, maybe a little bit less so in some respects in the past year. But I think there's just this, there is sort of an ethical question here that I think there's conversations that are being had about that. And I think this is an opportune time to be able to fold that into the way that we do business. And just in terms of sort of how I think sustainability and diversity and equity all intersect in sort of in the framework of sort of thinking about climate change and equity and diversity and food security. I put that all together. So, and I think that's a lesson you learn in working with sustainability, is it's often perceived as like a trade-off. And so for the way that I try to push projects through, it's never, you just do it all together. You're talking about all of these things. Everything can coexist. Some things might need to go up or down, but it's not it's not like sustainability or equity or, cost savings or diversity or whatnot. So I think it's important that if we want to create a healthy food system, and to do that, we need to be working, comprehensively on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So yeah, I was gonna just add to that to say like that transparency around like all of this thing is so important, because once you start to look at, if you have a university that has a dining, has a food service business that's, a $70 million food service, and you're only allocating $3 a meal, right, per student, that means you multiply how many students are doing that, and you see where the money is going. It's going to actually you see where it's going. So first off, what we're allocating for meal plans needs to go up in order to actually make it work. So even as we start to scale up some of our businesses into some of these accounts, once we pencil it all out, we pencil out, like, again, what we consider favorable rent space. We pencil out what it costs to distribute it, what it costs to even land into a GPO, what it costs for it to even, like, all of a sudden the entrepreneur themselves, there's no money left in it at $3 per meal allocation. So even if we scale it up, how big does that business have to even be in order before it even becomes profitable? And so now this whole, that's to me is like, that's where the sustainability comes into it. Like we don't even value food correctly at the consumption level. And we don't, especially if you want it to be locally sourced, you want it to be locally made, and all of these other barriers, the price point needs to be increased. So if we don't have buy-in from the presidents and all of these other, the people are holding the allocation of dollars, then yes, we're going to get a big influx of minority owned business that have an opportunity to lose money. And that really is not what I want to do as somebody who's positioning businesses into opportunities. I want to say, actually, you're going to be able to get a little nest egg and turn in, close that wealth gap that we have from $240,000 to $6 in the city of Boston. Like that's what I want to do, and moving it into an account where you're just breaking even or making 2% and the distributor's making 25%. That's not what that doesn't work.
It's interesting you say that, because we were having a conversation last week with regard to one of the things you talked about was scalability. And with a company that works nationally, we are definitely looking for the ability to scale across the nation. And a lot of times that is very difficult to do when you're talking about small businesses. We flip the conversation, though, to then talk about when we're talking about cost per meal or cost per item, we will have to make a business decision as to, do we want to pay a little bit more, knowing that we're sowing back into communities and helping financial security, food security, all of that grow? And does that in itself make up for the price difference should you go with a large distributor? And not that we have a quote unquote answer for that, but we entered that into the discussion because that has to be part of the discussion, in that small businesses will not be able to compete with these major manufacturers, though they may have great product. And in order for that great product to be a larger scale at some point, should they wish, that's the investment that companies will then make, let alone what I will call helping the businesses grow by exchange of what I will call talent. And I usually say time, talent, and treasure. And as a company, am I leveraging my business professionals to work with small business professionals to help their business grow, and some of the things that we're seeing from a larger scale, so that they can have an infrastructure that is solid for them to expand should they wish.
Yeah, and thank you so much for bringing that up, because one thing we haven't had a chance to talk about is what are the challenges around operationalizing a lot of these supplier diversity initiatives, given that we are very often talking about small businesses who just simply cannot compete with large multinational firms. So, I wanted to kind of pivot back a little bit, but I wanted to ask each one of you, what challenges have you seen, and this is directed towards, Carol, Susie, and Kaaryn, what challenges have you seen trying to bring on more diverse suppliers into the pipeline?
I can say at Columbia, it really is just, can they make enough food for our students? I mean, that's kind of it. You mentioned the cost, and we do consider, we're willing to pay more for our incubator clients, quite frankly. We're putting it on the cafes where, they give us the price, obviously there's a markup, but for us, this is also about education. This is part of our commitment to the community. So our VP meets with all of those business owners at one point. She's actually sat down with them and done the pricing with them, as you know, Caroline, in order to get them to a point where they understand whether or not this is feasible or not. And we've been willing to have some losses. I mean, we are still a nonprofit organization. We're not expecting to make money off of food. That's not what we're here for. But we have losses on this food, but we're willing to do it as part of that commitment. That said, those are the products at the cafe. When we start moving into food service, things are a little bit different. The volume is different, and generally we still are willing to take a little bit of a loss, but we can't take too much of a loss. We can't do things, we can't do it regularly. And really our goal is to help them grow and to connect them with distributors and manufacturers that will help them grow. Because it is an incubator program, for us, a big part of this is for them to be able to say that they understand this process now. They understand how to sell to a Columbia. They understand how to sell to Whole Foods. And we've had conversations about, maybe Whole Foods is not the right place for you because the pricing is off. And can you make that decision? Or maybe it's going to be a temporary situation. These are all business decisions that they have to make, and they have to learn how to make, and that's part of the program that we're offering. Oh, we can't.
Sorry, turning over to you, Susie. Some of the challenges that you have seen in your role working with small businesses in trying to diversify the pipeline.
Yeah, I mean, how much time do we have? I think that, like in many aspects of sort of institutions right now, that the systems just weren't designed for this work, and in many, many, many ways. And that's not a criticism, but I think that the entire system needs to be sort of deconstructed and redesigned. At MIT specifically, like I mentioned, it's a place that really values independent thinking and choice. And when you use that to drive, I think, a purchasing strategy, you're trying to do everything for everyone all at the same time. So we had a dozen vendors operating our food system as of 5 years ago. We tried to narrow that down to 2 that are sort of our third-party food service providers. But we have a retail cafe in every new building, and a dining hall here, and a convenience store here. And so I think just sort of looking at the system comprehensively, and establishing some core values, and trying to think through how do you start to essentially redesign the system according to those values. Maybe that's a little too ambitious, but I think definitely trying to work within a system that just wasn't really built for this, I think intentionally, this kind of work. And just being open about that and saying, like, what are the barriers, and how do we get from A to Z, I think, is sort of helpful. And, on a side, just in terms of sort of what we're learning, I think in the pandemic, and something that MIT has really shined on in the past 6 months is sort of its commitment to helping grow businesses that were not necessarily set up to make PPEs, like protective gear, but had sort of some of the right tools and some of the right people, and dedicated all this like sort of workforce development and creative thinking and funding and makerspace and professors to meet the demand of the PPE during the COVID surge. And, there was a quote in an MIT news article that said, like, nobody here was thinking about, is this going to make money? We were just doing it to sort of do it. And so I don't know if that's a fair comparison, but I think, like, I've seen an institution work that creatively, where it's like you bring companies to the table and professors, and you're all committed to this goal of creating a better place. And I've seen that work. And so I think it's somehow, tapping into that.
Yeah, I think
it's, sorry, go ahead, Ismail.
I was just going to say, I think it's an absolute fair comparison when you're talking about the things that, what the work that we're trying to do to address, the structures that perpetuate the very thing that we're trying to fix. So if we can do it, in one respect, we can do it in the other. We just have to have that intent to say it is, a domestic humanitarian crisis of what happens to, these communities of color, right? So we need to commit to fixing it and solving it the same way that we spend energy and actually and thought and time and saying, hey, look, no matter what, we're going to do it, right? It takes that sort of commitment to do it. And we've talked before, Susie, around, like, is this a moment for us to re-engage with the food service companies when everything is slowed down, when these food services are down 80%, 60%, everything is paused, everything is slowed down. Can we really create something that's at the necessary scale of the entrepreneurs, right? That's the scale of the need, not of the holders of the previous version of what power was, right? Can we put the power in the entrepreneurs of color that we're trying to do this work for right now before it turns back on in fall of 21 or the spring of 22? That, to me, is, can we do that? And that's the ask of the moment to me.
Yeah, and I think you said that, like, incredibly well, because it actually reminds me of something that Davida Davison said at a previous panel, which is like, where is the power right now, and what can we do to get the power back into the hands of the people? If this is not a tipping point, then what is? So this is actually a question for everyone, wherever you sit, whether you're an incubator or, a large corporate buyer or an educational institution. Since there is a chance and opportunity to really rebuild, maybe redo the entire system, what would you tell either a smaller organization, a smaller company that was trying to build their own diversity initiatives into procurement, or maybe they're just trying to rebuild the entire system? What are both practical ways that they can build meaningful supplier diversity initiatives? Or would you just tell them, you know what, we're going to take everything down and rebuild from the rubble? I guess another way of putting it is, let's start with the practical ways. Like, if someone could have sat you down 10 years ago and asked, what do you need to do in order to have a real meaningful supplier diversity initiative? What would you want to tell your younger self? Like, what are the practical tips and tools?
I can say for us, it's something that we are still really working on. And it's funny because I just got the question in the chat, which is to help. So the Columbia-Harlem SBDC, which I'm the director of, our role is actually to provide technical support to small businesses and assisting them with becoming MWBE certified with the state, the city, whatever certifying agency. That's part of what we do, but we have not really prioritized it in the way that we're going to be prioritizing it now. And so when we look at, the number of businesses that are in our supply chain, and I mean that as a university, some of them are certified, some of them aren't. Many of them are capable of being certified, but are not. And we're now really committing to helping them get that certification. The certification is not just about getting certified so that you can get government contracts. And I think there's a misguided notion about that. Corporations are looking for that. I'm getting calls once a week asking me for a list of Black-owned businesses, and I cannot certify whether or not a business is Black-owned. That is done by those certifying bodies, and so everyone's looking for those lists right now, quite honestly. And if you're not on the list but you have the capability of getting on it, I suggest that you do it. Part of the challenge that we've been hearing for years about this is that it's so burdensome, they need so much documentation, but the same documentation that's needed for to get certified is the documentation you're going to need to enter into a contract with us anyway. We're not going to give anyone a very valuable contract unless they can show their financials, they can show their shareholder meeting, their meeting minutes. All of these documents that are required, you need to have. And if you don't have them, you're not going to get a contract with us, a large contract with us. And so now we're really working both at my center, the SBDC, as well as the law school, on creating more tools, and with New York State, with Empire State Development, on creating more tools, more processes, more support to make this as easy and as simple as possible for our businesses, so that they can get the certification very quickly, they can get on the lists, and they can be found very, very easily.
Thank you. That's like really great practical advice. And I know for many small business owners, getting MWB certified is a hurdle, but it's great to hear that there are actual resources out there. And, I know a lot of comments are coming in about like, it's tough, they do want to know where to go. So Kaaryn, if you have any concrete suggestions, please feel free to drop it into the chat. Great. And then I know we're running a little bit tight on time, so I want to just do one more question before we move into the Q&A segment. If we were to just blue sky this for 1 second, so the same question that I asked all of our audience members at the beginning, which is, what do you look for in a mission-aligned partners? Given all your years of experience, given everything that you know now over the past year, what values and core qualities do you look for when you're looking to work with someone?
I can say that for us, we really are looking for a partner that understands our mission. We are a research university. In addition to our commitment to our local community, we have a huge commitment to the world, and that's why I mentioned the sustainability. I mentioned the diversity. That is very, very important to the identity of Columbia University. Those two things, as well as the idea of creating research that can be used to make the world a better place. And you can kind of look no farther than the fact that, it's our School of Public Health that's been working on COVID since before anyone knew that COVID was coming in. Our school closed earlier than the state because we knew what was going on, and we've really, really been committed. Each school has been committed to how can we make the world better, and that's something that that commitment flows down to our students, and it flows up to every element of the university.
Great. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to direct it to you.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So for me, I think I touched on it a little bit earlier. Like, it's I guess for me, like it's us collectively understanding that the rules that we're trying to, the rules that we're trying to address, like, have been put in place. The framing and the container that we all are existing in have been put in place to actually perpetuate the very thing that we're trying to stop. And so if we can understand that we have it's our obligation to actually dismantle these systems that were put in place to systemically exclude, then it's an understanding that some of the rules that we're being rushed to play into, we might need to like have a light version of it right now to actually push it through. Like, so it's understanding like what's the severity of the situation and how can we have a real conversation about it, and not trying to force. Just coming from the sustainability space, we have to usher into like smaller, gap light for smaller farms to actually be able to play in this space. We have to put in some other structures that could actually help us move faster, because we were losing ground in the organic space because it was co-opted, right? So it's understanding that if we are there's let's not make the same mistakes, and let's try and recreate, learn from some of the work that we've been doing in the sustainability space, if we're going to tap into those strategies when it comes to scaling up and making these processes more stable.
Great, thank you. Anyone else want to jump in with, in your wildest dreams, if you were to pick core values you would look for in a partner, what is important to you? What's important to you? What's important to the team that you work with?
It would be echoing pretty much what has already been said. When you're talking about sustainability, when you're talking about sewing back into communities that are underrepresented, that value the diverse opinions and ways that a diverse workforce can be creative, innovative, and drive your business, as well as delivering outstanding food.
I love that. You still have to deliver outstanding food. And anything from Susie before I move on to the last question?
Yeah, I think that I just echo Kaaryn's points about sort of just aligning with the educational mission, which I think is sort of the fun part of working with colleges and universities, is that there is this core mission to be educating young people. And I think in the food space too, it just allows for this connection that I think sometimes, especially at a rigorous place, is sometimes feels missing. And so I think that sort of establishing those cultural connections and just tasty food, at a basic core level, and aligning that with sort of this teaching and laboratory and experimentation is something that I certainly value.
Great, thank you. So we are, that is it for our time. And I'm glad that we were able to answer all of our panelists' questions. I do want to take a couple minutes though, as we wrap up. I wanted to thank our audience for sharing your thoughts on menti.com. So as promised, we're going to share our screen right now. And these are the things that everyone has entered into the word cloud. So as you can see, it's like big votes for integrity, big thumbs up for transparency and sustainability, equitability. I wanted to keep everyone keep all these words top of mind, keep everything that we've talked about here on top of mind as we move forward through the rest of the forum. This is only day one, and we're really excited to have all of our audience members continue to contribute really valuable questions and comments. So next thing I want to do is I wanted to thank our panelists. Thank you, Carol Lewis, Susie Jones, Kaaryn Simmons, Ismail Samad. And of course, thank you so much to our translators and the Hot Bread Kitchen team for doing such a great job back of house. And of course, thank you so much to our audience members for contributing. We really do hope that you'll take time to register for more of our events. Thank you, everyone.